Runnin with the Devils, and we're here talking everything Arizona State football. I'm the RyKno, Ryan Knowles. Here with me, as always, my partner in crime, Big John Caldwell. And, Big John, I mean, it's been a while since we've had to talk about an Arizona State loss. And the Devils, look like they had the game won there going into the final minute of the game. They just came back from a 17-point deficit and were poised. They had taken the lead and looked poised to, get one more stop and get out of Starkville with a win. But a unfortunate defensive breakdown led to a long Mississippi State touchdown and an upset of the formerly 12th ranked Arizona State Sun Devils, who would fall to 1-1 on the year. You hate talking about games like this. You hate seeing games like this. I know you and I were watching the game together this past Saturday, and I don't know. It's hard to watch, a game like that come down the way it did. But hopefully you learn more from a loss than you do a bad loss than a bad win. It's tough to take stock of a game like that and have that attitude. But this is a resilient bunch. They bounced back from losses before. I don't think this is going to wreck their whole season. And hey, it's early. It's non-conference. It's not the end of the world.
Yeah, everything is still in front of them. All their goals, all their aspirations. So it's good that you're playing. The best thing that came out of that, as I said the other night, was this was not a conference game.
Yes.
And while it gives a team like Mississippi State a lot more clout, they get to tear down goalposts. It's
actually they just brought goalposts out from the back. They didn't even rip down their own goalposts. Somebody brought out goalposts for them to just carry off with them.
It's because today the modern goal, if you ever look at, they're motorized, and you cannot tear them down. They drop them down with a motor, and the kids will just stand.
That's what they do here. Yeah, I know.
That's right. And so anyway.
That's basically what happened. But
I mean, in a lot of ways, it's sort of while we didn't lose to Mississippi State last year, we had a slow start last year too before we found our stride. And remember, folks, in this conference, there were 4 teams that had 2 losses. The winning team in the conference had 2 losses. The national champion had 2 losses. So let's not overblow this.
Oh no, I mean, nobody went undefeated last year. Certainly, we didn't expect ASU to go undefeated this year. You and I both pretty much had them at 10-2 or 11-1, and they could still reach that. I mean, there's no reason they can't, kind of find their stride and go on a run this year. I mean, this is not, like I said, this is not the end of the world. They did fall out of the AP poll, which I find is interesting. They fell more than 13 spots because of this loss on the road, non-conference. I don't know. I don't get a vote, but I think that's a little far for them to fall. But they'll get a chance to get back on track when they welcome Texas State into Mountain America Stadium, this coming Saturday. We'll definitely talk about that. But we got to start with, of course, this Mississippi State game. ASU falls 24-20 to the Bulldogs. They started out very slow. Didn't even kick their field goal until the final seconds of the half. But they kind of changed up their strategy at halftime, came out strong in the second half, running the ball. And their defense played very, very well for most of the second half. Yep. They just had that one breakdown on, when they were blitzing on a cover 0, get some guys kind of out of position, and Mississippi State took advantage with one of the faster receivers in college football, Brennan Thompson, taking it to the house.
Yeah, and what a lot of people don't realize or have a chance until you play it back, that we had a key man that was rushing the quarterback, and he fell down. He fell, and it worked on 3 other times. It just out of 1 out of 4 times it did not work. Somebody could not. It only takes 1 guy out of 11 guys sometimes, guys, to have a play blow up like that. And while we were clearly in the mindset that we were on the road, if at the worst they were playing for a tie, you could see it, and not the touch. They were trying to prevent the touchdown. So they thought on 3rd down they could blitz like they had that and make it work. And at worst case, give up 20, 25 yards, not the big bomb. But so the strategy behind all that, and I think we all kind of got it when we kicked the field goal as opposed to getting in for 7. At that point, you had to take the points. You had to go ahead and take the points on the road to get ahead. So that a touchdown would beat you and a field goal would tie you. But on the road, you really don't. In that environment, you don't want to go to overtime if you can help it. So
Yeah.
I mean, I understood what they were doing when obviously there was a communication problem between the safety and the corner.
Well, yeah, the execution's got to be there. I mean, I don't like running a cover 0 blitz in that scenario. I don't like blitzing both your safeties in that situation. I know that. Well, actually, they didn't blitz both. It's only Alford blitzed. Rouser took the crossing route underneath.
Right.
But I still feel like you need to have one guy back there to prevent a big play.
It would have meant you were bringing only 4 instead of 5 or 6 on your blitz. So, I mean, it was not the same play that they were hitting on earlier. It's I mean, to have your strategy go down to one play, and it is frustrating. I understand, but I mean, I have so many people who were saying, "Oh, this was bend don't break." No, it wasn't. This was not bend don't break. This was something completely different.
They were trying to stay. I get it. They were trying to stay aggressive,
right?
Which they'd done most of the game, and it had worked for them.
Exactly.
It just didn't ultimately work out. Hopefully, the coaches, everybody can kind of learn from this and not try not to make the same mistakes again should the situation come up. But really, it shouldn't have even gotten to that point, because even if ASU's offense scores even another field goal in the first half, I feel like this is a different game,
right?
Because they controlled time of possession, but they really struggled on third down.
I tell you one thing, there were some
good things to come out of this game. I mean, they did control the line of scrimmage for the most part.
We won the middle.
They only allowed 66 yards on the ground.
Correct. And we won the middle 8. We scored right before half, and we were the first score coming out of the second half. So they did some things really well. I think they finally proved to themselves that the 3-headed monster, as I call it, this 3-headed running attack will work, especially if one goes down. You have the two that have some. You can really see that Udo running inside through A gaps was very effective. 6-8 yards a carry. Ray Lee continued,
and he didn't get very many touches against NAU, so it was good to see him get involved in the offense. Him and Malik, of course, both went over 100 yards each after Kyson Brown went down in the first quarter with an ankle injury.
Second play, his second touch, he went down.
Yeah, I know. And Sam Levitt really struggled in the first half. That was hard to see. He's a little bit out of rhythm, it feels like right now.
Well, I have some comment on that.
Yeah, and they're going to try, and they're going to. I'm hopefully they'll be able to run some kind of simpler plays for him, just to help him kind of get into a rhythm. I think that would certainly help.
It was hard to kind of see it during the game, but I watched the replay, and Sam's feet. Folks, when a quarterback is sailing a ball long, it's almost always the foot, not setting your feet right. When a guy is bouncing a ball into a receiver, it's his feet also. So I noticed that Sam's feet are very wide, spread apart on the when he's skipping balls, and they're very close together when he's sailing balls. In fact, the very last interception, his feet were actually apart, not lined up, but apart, about 1.5 to 2 feet, and the ball slipped out of his hands. So,
it was tipped when it came out of his hand too.
Well, he admitted though, in practice, the day before yesterday, he says, "I need to work on my getting my feet set." So there are feet issues going on here, folks. It's a big part of proper completion, throwing a ball is how you set your feet. You can't get away with that high school just using your torso to do everything, right? It's not that kind of game.
Very true. Yeah, I hear you. But moving on, as we get into some of the stats of this game, it was good to see ASU's rushing attack have such a strong performance. They didn't have they weren't. I didn't feel like they were at their best against NAU. It was really great to see the front, in the offensive line kind of take control and push the ball downfield the way they did. Again, Levitt, not the strongest game, 10 of 22, 82 yards. He did have that one touchdown to Jordan Tyson, but the 2 interceptions were a killer. Malik Brown, another strong game. He had a good game against NAU. Another strong performance for him. 18 carries. He averaged over 5 yards, almost 6 yards a carry in this game. And then we mentioned Kanye Udo. I would have liked to seen him get in the end zone one more time there on that last drive. They fed him the ball a couple times, just came up a little bit short. But he still had a strong game, 23 carries, 105 yards, and a touchdown. Great to see him get involved in the offense. We talked about Kyson Brown getting hurt. Looks like he's not going to play in this week either, so it'll be a good healthy dose of Raleek and Kanye Udo against Texas State this week. And then Jordan Tyson, another strong game. He did have one drop, but 6 receptions, 68 yards, and a touchdown. Another good game for him. Would have liked to seen him get a few more completions, but we won't. But for the type of night that Sam Levitt was having and the success of the running game, that I still feel like is a good game. For Jordan.
And I made the comment to you while watching the game. I said, when you get down inside the red zone, you put the ball in playmakers' hands, and you clearly throwing the ball to Tyson was exactly the right call because he'll find a way to get open. So that's really encouraging to see that happening.
Yeah, and then Mississippi State, they had those strong game from their quarterback Blake Shapen, 19 of 33, 279 yards and 3 touchdowns. Brennan Thompson, he had a monster game, 6 receptions, 133 yards, 2 touchdowns, including the final one that ultimately proved to be the game winner. But yeah, it was those 4 explosive plays that really made the difference.
Right.
And that's what Mississippi State is known for, throwing the ball downfield and, putting teams out of position with the type of pace that they run. And then you throw in the cowbells, and then it's just added miscommunication out there from the defense.
So let me ask you: do you think that the coaching staff prepared these? Too much emphasis was on cowbells and pace rather than execution and game plan.
Well, I think you have to plan for all scenarios. You have to try to prepare them as well as you can for the different scenarios that you're going to run into for all the different things that you have. I mean, I had a friend who was at the game. He said his head was still ringing like a couple days later. It was that loud. And yeah, ASU did have some communication issues. And I mean, you can only prepare so much for a situation like that. It's so chaotic, and Mississippi State's offense, running the pace that they did, it's tough. It's tough to get lined up and get
you got to rely on hand signals. They were relying on a lot of hand signals. You could see it,
right?
And there was some they missed on a few. You could see the miscommunication with hand signals. And even Kenny said we got to get better at hand signals because it's going to be other loud games.
Oh yeah, they're this isn't the only hostile environment they're going to play in for sure.
And ringing a bell is a one note in the spectrum. The human voice is a lot wider in spectrum. So, I mean, you potentially can have a louder group than this, just not at one note like that, which is so distracting. But no, I get it. Great environment to be in. Good for, it's nice to see that them not be maybe the order is shifting a little bit in the SEC.
And I don't think, a lot of people were talking about Mississippi State being the worst team in the SEC. I don't really feel that's the case this year with the changes that they made on defense, with a healthy quarterback and some of the weapons that they brought in.
They were bigger, longer. Yeah,
they can't be at least competitive in that conference.
I like the new guys they brought in. They were bigger, longer, twitchier. It was a much better looking football team.
Definitely
last year.
Yeah. So, so that's our game. And then as we do after losses here on RWD, what we learned, presented by the Valley Athletic Booster Club. And for me this week, the passing attack has struggled to get on pace, on track through 2 games. Right now they're a run first team, and I think ASU's offense, Marcus Arroyo, Kenny Dillingham, everybody has to kind of lean into that right now, at least until Sam Levitt can get on the same page with his receivers and they can figure out a way to get him into a rhythm, to have success, putting points on the board, controlling the clock, moving the chains. I feel like you have to, kind of be a run first team and lean into that a little bit to wear other teams down until the passing can get on track. And then, something that we kind of knew coming in, ASU is a second half team. They started slow, a lot last year, and then eventually got on track in the second half. And that's been the story through they did have a good start, I felt like, against NAU, but they definitely played a lot better in the second half, especially the first teamers. And that was certainly the case against Mississippi State. They got to find a way to kind of get on track, but they also can't rely on a strong second half if you're coming out of the gate as slow as you did against Mississippi State week in and week out.
Right.
They definitely have to, play a full 60-minute game. That was something they struggled with last year. That was, finding a way to play a complete game was something that eluded them pretty much until mid-season.
Right.
And maybe that's going to be the case again this year. Hopefully they don't have to go through another loss in order to get to that point. But I mean, hey, Ken Dillingham even said he hates the first few weeks of the season because
you don't know what you got.
Yeah, he doesn't have enough on film, doesn't know what to work with, what his team needs to work on. Now I think after 2 games, I certainly hope he has a better idea and can kind of right the ship a little bit and get his team on track to where they're playing a complete game.
I'll give him this: the penalties were reduced. It's still not perfect, but it was but far better than it was.
Yeah, a lot of those were pre-snap because of the stadium noise. So
but so the things they worked on helped.
Yes.
For the most part, and I'm with you. I there's nothing wrong with being a second half team, and there's nothing wrong with being a run first team. What it does, though, is being a run first team, you kind of have to give up this idea that you're going to score 40 points a game. I think they believe in their heart of hearts, with the talent they have the tools to score 40 a game and to really be the kind of team.
Yeah, but if you have a quarterback who's struggling, who's having bad technique, who's not doing all the things that made him successful last year,
that's all you can do. You got to do.
It all starts and ends with him. So until he gets on track, I feel like again they have to lean into that identity for now. But hey, passing game got on track against Texas State last year. Hopefully it does this week too. We'll see.
I wrote down some other stats that I kind of liked. While we're our running game, we're averaging 6.2 yards a carry. We're only allowing 2.6 yards a carry.
There you go. We're controlling the line of scrimmage. I think you got to lean into that a little bit more.
Right. So there's a corollary. If you can run and you can stop their run, that's like a big force multiplier to me. And so the other. And then if you look at total yards, 226 versus 77.5, we're not giving up a lot on the run, folks. Our run defense is very strong over the first 2 games. I mean, we've got to improve our pass efficiency. Our third down.
Pass rush. I feel
pass rush still needs
to be better.
I think they got a little better. This week. Sam was not under threat as much. I mean, one of the reasons why I talk about feet is if the quarterback really is under duress, it's hard for him to think about setting his feet, right? He's thinking about running. That's Sam's inclination.
Is surviving.
Right. That's correct. Sam's first inclination when there's chaos is to run. And we saw it a couple of times. And he's still not baseball sliding. He's going head first. I don't know whatever they're going to.
I mean, he's a competitor. He's not going to shy away from contact. This is football. I mean, I know that he doesn't. I don't think he wants another broken rib like he had against Utah last year. But hopefully, you definitely hold your breath every time he takes one of those hits.
The other thing I like, as a positive really for where we are right now, is that red zone attempts. We've had 8 red zone attempts. We've scored 6 times. It could be a little better, but that's still pretty darn good for where
I'd
right
like
now.
to have more red zone opportunities through
If
2 games.
instead of 8, I'd like to see it around 12 right now.
We all would, yes.
Well, yeah. So there's some little things that popped out of the stats for me. So mine, obviously, we knew this from last year, but it's a continuation. Is the team won't quit.
We knew this from 2 years ago. The team didn't quit even when they were down multiple touchdowns
and it hasn't
against USC, and company, Oregon. When they were getting blown out,
Colorado,
they still played hard. Yeah.
I mean, and that's a testament to the kind of kids they're bringing in here. The character of the kids are bringing in. But it's obvious at this point in the year, you have to fix it. You can't spot somebody 3 scores. It's just because our competition is going to get better and better. I mean, coming after this week, folks, we got a gauntlet to run. We got a 4-game gauntlet, and so you can't afford to get down by 3 scores and expect to be.
They got to get right this week. I feel like this is a get right game, especially with Texas State was very. We'll get into them here in a minute, but they were very senior heavy last year. They lost a lot of people from last year. This team that was very competitive and very good. They had to replace a lot of players, especially on offense. This is a get right. This has to be a get right game for ASU. They have to come out, especially offensively, and put up some points, put up some stats, put some drives together, get some points on the board, and get in a better mindset, especially on the offensive side, before they head into Big 12 play.
Right. I think that Sam last year, and if you go back and remember how he started the year passing, he was having a hard time with long balls.
Right.
It wasn't as much this, and I think Arroyo has seen enough of this now to know that the only way you can get him out of it is kind of find a groove, and work the groove, and start working, extending his range during the game.
Sure.
So I don't think there's anything that Sam's doing anything they haven't seen over the last 2 years.
Right.
And I think Arroyo has enough. I mean, God, they got 2,000 plays in this playbook, folks. Now, you only run 70 in a game, but there's 2,000 plays in this playbook. He's got enough of an arsenal to figure out how to attack these teams. So that's mine.
That is what we learned, presented by the Valley Athletic Booster Club. Now we get into kind of our discussion topic of the week, our level of worry after the first loss of the season. I was a little bit worried when it happened. I was certainly upset. This is certainly a game that ASU should not have lost, given where they were with the situation, how things had gone leading up to that point. They had the lead in the final minutes. Mississippi State was out of timeouts. Defense had played strong pretty much the whole game, except for a couple drives where Mississippi State was able to score some touchdowns. But this was still, the defense had played pretty much lights out the second half, and then they give up a big play, and there goes the neighborhood. But I'm not too worried. I mean, I still feel like this is a solid football team. I feel like this is a very talented football team. And we've only scratched the surface on who they are and what they can be. Is the big thing for me. We haven't seen. I don't think they've opened up the playbook enough.
Well, Hines Ward.
We talked about going into this season how much deeper the tight end room, the wide receiver room was. They haven't really involved a lot of those guys enough in the offense. I mean, I know Jalen Moss missed last week. Correct. He should be back this week, but I would like to see the tight ends a little bit more involved. I think Shimon Mateer only has 2 catches through 2 games,
maybe 3.
That's not enough. Kamari Anderson has been underutilized. They did try to work Jaron Hamilton into the Mississippi State game. They ran a couple plays for him,
right.
But Malik McClain, I don't even remember his name getting called against Mississippi State. So, this is, it's a little bit. The offense is a little bit of concern to me, especially with the way Sam Levitt has played through 2 games.
Yeah.
But again, he struggled to start the season last year, but just this time he doesn't have Cam Scatterboot to kind of lean on. I just want to see, but I'd just like to see some improvement from him this week before I actually start worrying about the position.
Yeah, Hines Ward actually kind of tipped his hand. I thought it said something really telltale to me in practice about a week ago, and that was, yeah, we got a lot of weapons, but you got to learn the playbook. And I know he was referring. I was referring to guys like Hamilton, like Turbo. And it's an awful lot to come from another program to learn 2,000 plays or what you're supposed to do. But McLean was here last year,
Yeah.
Noble John. I mean, there's all kinds of players. You got Harry Hassman, Noble Johnson, Eswebo was here last year, so they know the playbook. So my question is, if that's the issue that they don't know the playbook, play the guys who know how to play the playbook. And so that's just a little thing. But no, I'm with you. I'm concerned as it's happening. I don't like seeing guys falling down on such a critical play that last defensive stand that came down to one guy not executing and blowing it for you.
And sometimes that's all it takes.
Well, that's football. Here's the beauty. In the beautiful thing about football, it takes 11 guys to execute a play. That's
the great thing about football, that the teamwork
really
aspect, right?
It takes 11 guys to execute to execute an offensive play. Usually, it can take one guy to make a defensive play. But we got in a situation where one guy hurt us to the point where their 11 guys could execute.
Right.
And that's not fun. And in retrospect, Kenny, and hindsight, as Kenny likes to say, he would have liked to have been in cover 2. He would like to have a center fielder out there.
Yeah, I think we all feel that way at this point. But
so, am I worried? I mean, I'm concerned. Mostly about Sam getting right. But I think if there's anything like last year, we'll get it right. I think the defense has its identity. I think I certainly think the special teams is playing very nicely. I mean, our punt game is phenomenal. We're not letting anything on no punt or kickoff big gaps. So I think 2 of the 3 parts of the
and hey, we have a kicking game now. So.
We have a kicking game, and I think 2/3 is fine. Got to get that third cylinder really cranking now. And home, there's nothing. You're back in the home. You're home cooking, sleeping in your own bed. I think things will be a lot better. It's only supposed to be 98 at kickoffs.
Only
at 6. Well, that's a whole lot better than 108 last time we were here.
Right.
We all know psychologically when you get under 100, everybody's like, "Oh my God, it's under 100, right?"
We're in business. Right.
Anyway, here we go.
There are certain things to like about through 2 games. I like that the running game. Everybody thought it was going to fall off with Cam Scadaboo being gone. And it's been very strong. I would like to see the pass rush, the ASU's pass rush show up a little bit here in the next couple games, because it really it's kind of struggled a little bit through 2 games. I would like to see them play a little bit better against NAU. There are some concerns. I feel like they got weapons on offense that are being underutilized right now. But again, it is just through 2 games. There's certainly time for them to get this right, but I feel like they have to get it right this week, because you got these 4 games coming up. This, like you mentioned, a gauntlet. We've talked about it pretty much all season, in the preseason, about this 4 game stretch coming up is really going to be key for the rest of the season. When you got Baylor on the road in 2 weeks,
right.
You got TCU at home on a short week on a Friday night.
Yeah.
Then you got to bye, and you got to go to Utah,
and
then you have Texas Tech the big one, Texas Tech at home.
Yeah.
In basically those 4 games in 5 weeks that could really set the tone for the rest of the season.
Yeah. I talked about the defense having its identity. The new the identity I was counting on was having a lot bigger rush. We have a man down on one of our ends down right now. He's still hurt. He's still not ready to go. What's his name? The other. Oh, come on.
No, Watley. He did miss the Mississippi State game, right?
Yeah, and I talked to people last night saying, it's not looking good for this week either. But if you look at the Keyshawn's got 13 tackles, Crook's got 12, Clayton's got 11, Martell Hughes 10. It really is the it's the linebacking core of this. That is making the most by design. The linebacking core is really
Well, yeah, and
heart and soul heart and soul of
they've
this
been very
defense.
strong. Yeah, they've been very strong against the run.
Right.
I've certainly been happy with the linebacker play. Again, I just feel like the pass rush, especially when you're not blitzing.
Well, we saw
Got to get home at some point.
We saw last game. We saw loops and stunts going on that we had not seen.
There was a lot more to like in the second game. Certainly, they were getting home a little bit more.
Yeah. We saw Clayton looping from his position all the way into the A gap, right? Looping around.
Yeah. Again, I think it certainly progressed a little bit. You had Clayton Smith. He had a couple sacks in that game. Keyshawn had a sack. So they did have 3 sacks in this game. So that's very encouraging. I just want to see even if a play doesn't result in a sack, just a little bit more pressure on the quarterback, so they hopefully forces some mistakes and they can get some turnovers, because that's another concern for me. This team was supposed to be built on, they were very successful in turning the ball over last year on defense.
Right.
And I think they have one interception.
One interception.
Yeah, from a defensive lineman.
That's right.
So would like to see that change in the next couple of weeks or so.
We're still we're getting our hands up, Mick. We're still tipping balls. That's all good stuff.
Yeah, it's there. Just gotta kind of hopefully that turns into results here in the next few weeks. So moving on to this week's opponent, Texas State. They have come out of the gate with a 2-0 record. Head coach GJ Kinney, in his 3rd season, looks to have this team in a good spot. They're kind of in a rebuild mode a little bit this year. With they lost a lot of seniors last year, including the former U of A quarterback Jordan McCord, who led them last year. But they went to a bowl game last year and won it. And they did play ASU very, very close in San Marcos last year in a game that also came down to the final play when they allowed Texas State to run basically an untimed down. After the broadcast went off the air, we had to listen to it on the radio.
Yeah, when that was goofy.
After the game, that was crazy. But this was a game that ASU kind of got their passing game going after not really having it that strong and through the first 2 games.
I agree.
So hopefully, especially downfield, they had been a lot of their success through the first 2 games last season had been underneath stuff, dinking and dunking. This game, they were able to go downfield a little bit more. Hopefully, they'll be able to do that in this game as well. But Texas State here, they had some changes in the offseason, of course. Mac Leftwich left to be the Texas Tech OC, and Landon Koppel was promoted. And they're moving on up. Next year, next year they'll be in the Pac-12 with several other programs joining Washington State and Oregon State, and then they got some familiar faces on their team with defensive lineman Kyron Borda and J.P. Dieter, and then DJ Taylor, the former corner and kick returner, transferred there from Cincinnati this offseason. So,
wow,
yeah.
Remember how blindingly
definitely a team on the rise, definitely a team going places, and GJ Kinney, he's a good coach. He's come from a good coaching tree. He definitely has this team in a good spot. They're kind of rebuilding this year with a lot of younger players. They're replacing 3 of their top receivers from last year, a couple of O-linemen, and their quarterback. So we'll see. But they've had success through first 2 games. Their wins against Eastern Michigan, and then their first ever win on the road against the rival UTSA last week at the Alamo Dome. So
beat a UT school.
They're definitely in a good spot, and it's a big reason why has been their offense. GJ Kinney is an offensive coach.
Is DJ still their punt and kickoff guy? I would think so.
I think he is, but I think he's still playing defense, because I know that ASU played him at running back a little bit, but
he was an athlete. He was the athlete position.
They're mostly using him on special teams, because because he hasn't registered a stat on defense so far this year.
Huh.
So
I just remember his biggest attribute, he was fast, and he could
yeah,
and I thought he really had a place out there in the punt and kickoff return world. But anyway,
that is certainly was his biggest attribute when he was here.
correct.
But moving on to into their offense, they've had a lot of success through the first two games. Putting up about 48 points a game.
That's big.
280 rushing yards a game, and they're 16th in the nation in total offense through these first two games. Granted, against Eastern Michigan and UTSA, not the strongest of competition, but you can't control who you play. They've gone out there and had success, and big reason why has been their redshirt freshman quarterback Brad Jackson. His first year at the helm, he's been had success. 5 touchdowns against just 1 interception, 500 yards, and he can get out and run a little bit. He's had 82 yards and a couple scores on the ground as well. Their rushing attack's been very strong this year to start, 280 rushing yards a game. So Jackson's certainly been helped by that. Lincoln Pear was their running back last year, and he's had a good start to this year with a couple scores as well from him. Jalen Jenkins, he's the backup. But they worked him into the scheme quite a bit. 12 carries, 126 yards, 12 touchdowns for him. And then Jackson's favorite targets thus far has been Bo Sparks. All 5 of his touchdown passes have gone to Bo Sparks this season. 12 catches, 237 yards. And then Chris Dawn Jr. is the guy on the other side, 7 catches, 159 yards. They don't use the tight end a whole lot. They will line one up, but the 2 tight ends have a combined 3 catches, and Lincoln Pear is their third leading receiver right now. So it's basically just these 2 guys, and then there's a bit of a drop off after that so far in production. But still, they put up some points against ASU last year. They got out to a good start.
Right.
Kenny, is very good when it comes to scheme. They run a kind of a similar thing offense that Mississippi State runs. They'll run a lot of spread,
Pace.
Run a lot of pace. Definitely a lot of RPO worked in. So definitely got to come out and play strong against them because they thrive on putting points on the board. Their offense is certainly ahead of their defense right now because as strong as their offense has been, their defense has been very weak through 2 games thus far. As we move on to them here, 420, almost 428 yards a game. They're 113th in the nation in total defense. Traylon Payne has been pretty good for them. They have not registered a turnover through 2 games, and only a handful, and only like a couple sacks, I think. But yeah, their safeties and their linebackers have been very productive so far, probably because they've been given a lot of opportunities. Mm-hmm. They'll play a 3 high safety look. Traylon Payne, their linebacker, he's the one who's kind of been the tackling machine for them all over the field making plays. Ryan Nolan and Bobby Crosby are 2 of their safeties who have made some plays thus far. And then their third safety, if we go on to the next slide here, Will Mitchell, they'll work him in quite a bit. And then their leading pass rusher so far has been defensive end Kennard Snyder. He has one of the only sacks this year. I think there's like one other player who has 1, and he's a corner. So not a lot of production in the pass rush thus far from the defense. Certainly like to see something that ASU can take advantage of and get their passing game right against a defense that's struggling out of the gate thus far, replacing quite a few players from last season. And that leads us into our keys to the game, presented by Sleep in Heavenly Peace, a great nonprofit that builds beds for families in need. Please support Sleep in Heavenly Peace. And for me, it starts, I mentioned this before, and what we learned, ground garrison, establish the running game, control the clock, wear down a weak TSU defense. Especially up front, they've given up some yards on the ground. I think this is a perfect opportunity for this rushing attack to continue its strong start to the season, and then you can utilize the play action game to free up your receivers downfield. Hopefully, Sam Levitt can deliver the ball and get some confidence and get in a rhythm. But for now, at least, I think you got to, coming out of the gate, start strong, get the strong rushing attack going, so you can wear that defense and work on your passing game. And then on the defensive side of the ball, see ball, get ball. It's a defensive philosophy. A lot of DCs will institute, force multiple turnovers, and trigger a short field for ASU's offense. I think is very key. It was, big key to what they did, what the defense did last year. Right. When they were forcing turnovers, they were really at their best. And they haven't done that through the first 2 games. Only 1 turnover through 2 games forced. I feel like this is a good opportunity with a young quarterback and a young offense that has had some success, but against teams like Eastern Michigan and UTSA, I feel like this will be a big step up and a chance for ASU's defense to go out there and have another good game by forcing some turnovers.
So I think I like this strategy. I think I go a little bit step further and I talk about trying to stop. Really, you got to stop their run. I think we should make them one-dimensional, and that means if you can make this young quarterback a one-dimensional quarterback by stopping his run, I think you're going to get some of your turnovers by shutting him down on the run and forcing getting the ball out of his hands. But again, at the time I wrote this, I still a 3-headed running back room, which has been very rare for this program to have such 3 really quality backs like this. So we're going to continue to use them.
Running back room, yeah,
exactly. And we're just so I'm saying what you are run him into the ground, and get out get at least a 2-score lead on these guys.
Wear them down out of the gate. Absolutely.
Wear them. So we see things very similarly. Make them a one-dimensional team. Run on offense. Run the ball until they glow. And then stop their run, at least focus on keeping this kid Jackson from running. I mean, 88 yards is not spectacular, but he's capable.
It's enough that you take notice. He's one of a bit of a threat.
That's right, but he's so take that away. And if you're going to get turnovers, get to him as he tries to get around the edge and start stripping balls. They do more ball stripping. I mean, they spend 5 minutes, 10 minutes every practice just working on stripping balls every which way possible in practice.
And you see them trying to do it during the game. It just hasn't yielded any fumbles as of yet, but that doesn't mean they won't come at some point.
Mm-hmm.
So those are keys to the game presented by Sleep in Heavenly Peace, and it's prediction time. I swear we don't collaborate at all when we do this. But I have ASU winning 38-20. Again, I feel like this is a game the offense can come out and perform, and the defense defense should get some turnovers and key some short fields if they don't score themselves against this Texas State offense that has put up some numbers through 2 games, but is still very young, and there's opportunities out there is what I'm saying, and I feel like it's a game ASU can put some points on the board, hopefully get this offense back on the right track.
So you get to 20 by making a couple of field goals, meaning that
I think they'll hold up in the red zone, their defense.
Yeah, I'd say if we keep them outside the 25 and make them long field goals, I think we stand a real good chance of keeping this thing, keeping them in the 20s.
Right.
Keep them in the 20s. I know the goal of this program is to get to 40 offensively. That's that, and there's a reason, folks. There is such thing as style points, and it does matter at the end of the year in terms of getting into the playoff system. Teams who score, in the 20s don't rank as high as teams who are scoring in the 40s. That's all there is to it. And it's not nobody wants to say it, but it is a thing. Okay. But I think this is the game we kind of get things on track, and 42-21 is, and I'm not sure we give up a field goal to those guys. So I see 3 touchdowns out of it. But it's going to be should be a real fun night. I know we're real close to another sellout, and so show up.
Shamrock's giving out a bunch of free tickets, so I got a couple extras myself. So
good.
Definitely a good game to be at. Hopefully ASU will come out and put out some points and put on a good show. So And as we get on here, 7:30 kickoff. It is a maroon monsoon, so wear maroon. And ASU's first game on TNT this year. They're making a big push on the Big 12. ASU is favored by 17.5. We fully expect them to cover, but through our predictions. But as we move on here in RWD, we say goodnight. Go Devils. Wear maroon. No pity for this kitty.
No kitty. No kidding. No kitty. No pity for the kitty. Another kitty. All right, here we go. Get my music here.